Tony Blair calls for a radical reset of climate change policies in a major intervention. I'm going to read into this more from The Independent, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from The Independent with the headline that Tony Blair calls for a radical reset in climate change policies in a major intervention. The former Prime Minister warns climate policy has become disconnected with the political, public and economic reality and claims that COP is struggling to deliver change at the speed required. Just a reminder to hit that like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And yes, before everybody starts screaming in the comment section, I know it's Tony Blair. I know he's a war criminal, what he did in Iraq. And some of his policies have been absolutely questionable. So I understand people who clicked on this video and thinking, "Oh, it's Tony Blair." Just hear me out, okay? He is right that does need to be a change in climate change. We need to appeal more about the benefits of climate change, and we need to show people the benefits of those climate change. There are too many people out there who think that the change that we need to make is not going to make their lives better. It's not going to make things cheaper for them, when in fact it is. And it's about showing that, not just talking about it, and not just having some scientists do it. It has to be done in a creative way that appeals to people as well, from a social media aspect, and from a social media aspect as well, not just having, like I said, expertise talking about this. But I wanted to play this clip from Tony Blair when he was talking about this as well. And by the way, this is at a time when the local elections are literally round the corner at the time of this recording as well.
What can be done is two things. You've got to make sure that when it's possible, because you've got the opportunities through, for example, renewable energy, when countries in the developing world are increasing their power production, power generation, they could be doing it more sustainably with renewable energy. In Africa, for example, there are massive opportunities for hydropower, for geothermal power. So the solution for solar, of course, in Africa, but you need the financing. So that's the challenge. And you're absolutely right. The fossil fuel production is going to continue to rise. It may peak in 2030, but we need it to peak sooner if at all possible, and then we need for it to start declining. And the other aspect of this is technology. You know, there are new technologies being developed, and we're going to have to try and accelerate those so that we can get them deployed. Otherwise, frankly, meeting these climate targets is going to be really tough.
And he's absolutely right. They're going to be more and more harder to meet those targets. They are going to be more problematic. This was him speaking at COP29 on how to solve the climate crisis. The reality is that we cannot, as of right now, we can't disconnect from oil and gas. It's not possible to do so, and there is a reliance on it. But at some point, we have to decline. We have to reduce our levels on a global scale. Yes, I know it's very difficult and it's almost impossible to try to do that. And we know that there is political influence from outsiders. But we've got to make the case for climate change. We have to continue to make that case. And it's not just individuals. It's influencing politicians the right way when it comes on these issues and how they go about that as well. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So Tony Blair has warned Western politics to tackle global climate change that are failing, demanding a radical reset to win over the hearts and minds on the issue. The major intervention by the former Prime Minister torpedoes current net zero policies and calls for the COP process to be torn down and replaced. It is a shot across the bows of the current Labour government and Energy Secretary Ed Miliband's plans to push headlong towards renewables. Writing the foreword of his own think tank newspaper, The Climate Paradox, Why We Need Reset Action on Climate Change, Sir Tony warned that while there is a widening credibility gap with voters, or are being asked to make financial sacrifices and changes in lifestyles when they know that the impact on global emissions is minimal. The intervention could not come at a more sensitive time for Sir Keir Starmer's government, which is facing local elections within 48 hours at the time of this recording, a serious electoral test since the general election. Yeah, but the likes of Reform are telling you that these changes, that the climate change and our targets to net zero will actually make things more expensive for you, when that's not true. fracking and drilling is not going to bring our energy bills down. But my hope is that over this current parliament, as Ed Miliband pushes us towards more renewable energy, we actually see a decline in at least a freeze of some sorts on our energy bills, and that people actually start getting better off on their energy bills as a direct result of our habits of changes. More on solar panels, more on wind farms. We need to insulate our homes as well. Better insulation for our homes. There are all sorts of things that, and as he said there, more technologies that can be used to reduce our energy. It's there to be used, and we just need to invest in it. The government needs to help people with that, and in doing so, we'll reduce our energy bills. That's what everybody wants. Nobody wants to be paying a fortune for your heating. Nobody wants to be going down that road. So Tony endorsed the paper authored by Sir Tony Blair's Institute TBI's Director of Climate and Energy Policy, Lenny Frosman, which calls for the COP's international series of conferences to be dismantled, while a new coalition must be built to tackle the climate crisis. He claims that COP is struggling to deliver change at the speed required and must evolve to match ambition with delivery. In his foreword, Sir Tony argued that while climate activism has succeeded in raising awareness, today's policy strategies have become disconnected from the political, public and economic reality, and the debate is riven with irrationality. The result is a widening credibility gap between climate policy and climate delivery. Activists have shifted the political centre on gravity on climate, he said, but the movement now to be a public mandate, attainable only through a shift from protest to pragmatic policy. Highlighting a cycle that pushes proposals but delivers little real progress on global emissions, he wrote that political leaders, by and large, know that the debate has become irrational, but are terrified of saying so for fear of being accused of being climate deniers. Meanwhile, as voters feel they're being asked to make financial sacrifices and changes in lifestyle when they know that the impact on global emissions is minimal. So Tony pointed to the global trends that undermine today's climate approach. Fossil fuel used is set to rise up further to 2030. Airline travel is to double over the next 20 years. And by 2030, almost 2/3 of emissions will come from China, India and Southeast Asia. These are inconceivable facts, he said. That means that any strategy based on either phasing out fossil fuels in the short term or limiting consumption is a strategy doomed to fail. While acknowledging COP's role in scaling ambitions, Sir Tony said that the process will not deliver the change at the speed required. The great gathering of all the nations has its place, though probably not every year, but the reality is the decision of large countries and the policy direction they give towards the technology and the financial flows can be, in truth, solves the climate issues. He proposed a new model which must evolve the match ambitions with delivery. We now need a new process that scales global solutions instead of eliminating emissions with green energy and electric cars. The paper urges government to prioritise global investment in carbon capture, investing in solutions that capture emissions at sources before they reach the atmosphere, together with breakthrough technologies like direct air capture that permanently removes carbon. I will just say that the carbon capture has never worked. It's never actually scientifically worked. So while they keep talking about that technology, it's not actually succeeded. And plus, it doesn't solve the problem. All it does is just store it, hides the carbon away. We don't want the carbon being produced at all. The TBI also wants them to harness the power of technology, including AI, decarbonising smarter and faster. Technology can turbocharge the path to net zero. For smarter tech, delivering lower bills to better systems and faster progress. He argues that AI applies to energy efficiency and better use of the energy grid is potentially revolutionary in reducing energy demand. And there is a call to invest in frontier energy solutions, including new generations, nuclear and fusion technologies. Paper argues a small modular reactor offers hope but needs integration into energy strategy. Scaling up means less pollution, more jobs, and new abundant energy sources that didn't fuel the climate crisis. TBI also warns Starmer's government and others to scale up nature-based solutions, from planting forests to developing carbon-smart crops. We must harness the power of nature and science together. They argue that nature is one of our best allies in this fight, and we need to look back at it with smart science and intervention. And I agree. I agree with a lot of this stuff. Do I think we need a bit of a reset on climate change? Yeah, I do. You know, it's a topic that really, you know, there's so many other major topics that people have going on that's on their minds, you know, with The cost of living crisis is obviously one of the biggest ones because lots of people have been deeply affected by that, being able to get that access to their healthcare. I would say that people do believe, the majority of the UK public, in my opinion, in my views, do believe in climate change. There are a few climate skeptics, but the climate skeptics is being endorsed by those who those who haven't done the research and haven't looked into this. There's lots of scientists who claim that climate change is not true and it's nonsense and whatnot, and those people who are just being paid by lobbyists to make those claims, those who are being paid by think tanks to undermine what's happening in the world every single day. They're paid lobbyists is what they are, and people will buy into that. This narrative that climate change is going to make us more expensive is not true. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to make things more cheaper for us. We want our energy bills to go down, and yes, I agree. Like, I have been saying that our energy bills have been going up, and it's wrong that all our bills have been going up this year in the UK here in particular. But at some point, they need to show that that pushing for renewables shows that it makes a difference, not just in terms of green energy and from a climate change perspective and pushing towards net zero, but actually showing it in our bills, whether it's by freezing it or by it would be a blessing to reduce them. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of Tony Blair's intervention in this matter? What do you guys make of the situation with regards to climate change? Let me know your thoughts and more on all this down in the comment section below. If you found this video informative or helpful in any way, shape or form, hit the like button, share this across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Do check out the Rumble and Patreon as well. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can join for the YouTube membership as well for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.